If you don't know my story, let me just share it with you for a minute. See, I had a really bad upbringing. Okay, I went through emotional trauma, physical abuse, psychological abuse. I ran away from home at 14 and a half years old. Now, I'm 53. Yeah, I know I'm an old git. And that means I was born in 1969. And what I did is I etched out the 9 on my birth certificate to make it look like a 7. That made me 16 and a half, a real man, right? And that stereotypical thought of being hurt and the stuff that I went through, I found myself gravitating towards gyms, to real hardcore gyms, spit and sawdust gyms. It's still where I go now. Obviously, I'm much smaller now because I'm old, right? And there I was in the gym, wanting to get so big and strong that I never get hurt again. And the people around me were like, doormen and dealers and, people I really like and people I've always got on with because I'm a kind of streetwise guy. Even though I went and got educated and studied psychology and did all the things I did later on in life, that's where I come from. I come from the streets, if you like. And it started by them giving me, the old ticket. I'd do the old ticket on a Friday night. And this is the story for most people. It escalates. It starts off doing a ticket on a Friday night, like a 0.4 or something. And then eventually it becomes a Friday and a Saturday. And it's like a 0.4 each Friday and Saturday. Then a 0.4 doesn't cut it. And eventually you're buying a full gram. And you're doing a full gram on a Friday and a Saturday. Or sometimes even more. Because you know what the weirdest thing is? The more you have, the more you buy, the more you do. There are plenty of times I've bought a Henry. And I've gone through that Henry continually until I finish it. Because I'm an all or nothing mentality. Anyway. And then eventually it was like, I didn't want to wait till I got to the pub. So I pick up before I go to the pub. And then it moves to the next stage. I would pick up and not go out. And then it went from a Friday and a Saturday, and it was like a Wednesday. Wednesday, it was like, I had some stress, had some bad news. I can't remember what it was, but there was an excuse. It was like, Wednesday. I'm going to use on a Wednesday. And then my brain goes, Wednesday. L uses on a Wednesday and a Friday and a Saturday. And then another time it was like a Thursday. It's like, I got some good news. I was celebrating. I got a bonus. I don't remember what it was, but a positive thing. It was like, I want to celebrate. Let me go and pick one up. And then it became a Thursday. And it was a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. And eventually, for me, it became 6 days a week. And then what happened was my quantity went up. So no longer was I just buying a full gram. Some days I was buying 2 grams. And it continued up. And then my life began to diminish because all the things I used to do became smaller and smaller because that's what it does. It closes down your life. And then the only people you want to surround yourself, if you want to surround yourself with anybody, is just a couple of people when you first pick up and do the first couple of lines. After that, you know where you want to be? At home, on your own, sitting on your computer, looking at stuff you shouldn't be looking at, sending texts you shouldn't be making calls you shouldn't be doing if you want to speak to anyone. I wasn't quite as depraved as that. Anyway, it continued on until eventually one day I went, this is crazy. Here I am as a psychologist who helps people, and at the time I was helping people dealing with phobias. I was on ITV every single morning dealing with phobias, and I went, I've got to do something about this. So I went on and ordered every single book on addiction, right? And I read every single book on addiction, and I downloaded every single research paper, and I read every single research paper. And I began to utilize all the psychological schools and techniques and all the people that I'd studied from around the world. But now I had one goal. I was laser focused in dealing with addiction, and I stopped. Not only did I stop, I started helping other people stop. And it began to spread because other people told other people told other people. And eventually I broke into social media and I was on TV in multiple countries. And it just escalated to the point where now I was this person helping other people, that I had this solution because I've got 27 years of psychology experience, but I have 10 years of being an addict to my name, which means I understand not only the psychology of it, but I understand it as a person, having gone through that addiction myself. And one thing I want to tell you is, if I can do it, you can. And maybe you need the right help to get there. Or maybe you found a path that's right for you. Because not everything is right for everybody. But let me tell you this last thing. What's that about?